warm welcome to you, a very warm welcome to our precious students. I'll just take a moment to introduce Mr. Nicholas Henderson. He is a career educationalist with more than 10 years experience in international education. He's graduated from Harvard in 2006 and thereafter he's taken on to teaching. He's also written Pearson's Complete Guide to the SAT, and he's co-founded SI, which in the past 7 years has worked in with several hundred students with yearly placements at Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Princeton, and other top 30 universities. And also, I really wanted to highlight this, that SI is primarily founded on this very beautiful belief that good teachers make great students. So thank you so much, Nick, for sparing your valuable time to coach our students and share your valuable learnings and guidances with them. And over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And I'm so glad everyone is here. And maybe some of you are parents, and maybe some of you are students. But today, I'm going to give advice that anyone can appreciate. And I'm going to be telling you all about how to get in to the very nice US universities. This is what my company is all about. This is what I focus on a lot. And my company has great partnerships with Clever Ed, which we think is an amazing company because Clever Ed creates the learning opportunities that are so valuable when you apply for the US. So I'm going to give a short presentation and then I'm going to answer questions that you have. And if you have questions along the way, just enter them into the Zoom chat and then I'll make sure that nothing gets missed. So is that okay, ma'am?
Yes, Nicholas, thank you.
Great. So, can I share my screen, please?
I'll request the host to please grant the sharing privileges. Ms. Shiksha, is that possible? Okay, Ms. Shiksha or
yes, it's
anybody?
Done. It's perfect.
Okay.
It's
yes,
ready.
Smita, I was there. Like I'm here.
Okay.
I have granted the permission. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
great. Now, today I'm going to talk about cracking the US undergraduate application. And my presentation is called Inside Out because it's important to think about how to do it with the actual components of what make up the application. Now, that's me. I'm Nicholas Henderson, graduated Harvard College in 2006, and I've made this company that is called SI. And what we do is we offer very special and intensive counseling to students who wish to explore university in the US. Now, and if you have, we got a great website, you can look at that for any questions. Now, first, I'm going to tell you about the best universities. These ones are the highest rated. It is Princeton, it is Columbia, Harvard, MIT, Yale, Stanford, University of Chicago, UPenn, Caltech, and Northwestern, okay? And I've put their acceptance rates right next to it. So that just means the percentage of students who are accepted every year. Now, what I didn't put is the number of students from India who are accepted, because if you add up all of these universities for students from India every year, in a good year, it would be about 120 students total from India who get into these ones, okay? Now, that's very less. It's possible though, okay? In fact, what we focus on is we focus on universities which fall in this very specific ranking, and they are in the top 30. This is our goal, okay? There's Princeton, there's Harvard, there's Columbia, there's Yale, there's MIT, Caltech, UPenn, and then there's many good ones on this side too. These are still very elite. There's Cornell, UCLA, UC Berkeley, Carnegie Mellon, UMichigan. These universities have something for everyone, okay? Now, when you think about the US as an education option, probably you're thinking about these universities. I think that is good. That is one of my characteristics as a counselor, in that I like my students to be ambitious. It's very important to target for the best, but you have to understand how to set that target. Now, and there's additionally 10 very good programs that are called liberal arts colleges. So, and these are known as Williams and Amherst, Swarthmore, Pomona. These are much smaller colleges, which are anyways very good. These are universities, okay? So this is the first lesson for everyone. There are universities, okay? Harvard is where I went. That is a university, okay? UCLA is a very large university. But then there are also colleges, and colleges are smaller than universities, and they give less options for the kind of degree that you can take, but they're anyways very beautiful, okay? So I first off say that America is a very special educational place. These universities and colleges have some very specific attributes. First off, they are 4 years long. Most places in the world are only 3 years long, okay? Now, the US is 4 years long because usually once you get through, they give you 1 year to choose your subject, okay? So America universities are extremely flexible. You can get in and you have your first year to take some classes, try some new subjects, even discover a whole new interest. And so that's why the American duration is 4 years, which is really like 1 plus 3. Everywhere else is 3 years. So America had the difference is that first special year. Now, I want to give you some basic information about American universities. So first off, American universities are made of streams, okay? There's an engineering stream. Engineering is something that students at Clever Ed would probably like, because this is where people do computer science, and they do mechanical engineering, and they do electrical engineering. There's about 10 different kinds of engineering. And then many places have a business stream. And this is like a BCom degree. And it can be in finance, or it can have a management specialism, or it can have a marketing specialism. So there's about 5 options. Now then, there's the arts and sciences. And this is a combined stream of all of the humanities and all of the science options, okay? So this is the biggest stream by far, and it offers about 50 subjects, sometimes even 100 subjects. So on this list, all of these institutions are made of streams, okay? And there's an engineering stream, and sometimes there's a business stream, but there's always a combined humanities and sciences stream. And that's what makes these universities very special, is because they have so many different, very high quality options. Now, you know, it's very difficult to say what are the good ones, because I have just told you which are the most highly rated per the one ranking I believe in. But everyone has their own preferences. So when you are thinking about the US universities that are worth aspiring for, well, most people would think about the ratings and they would think about, are they well known? But then you could think about where are they located? You could think about if they are big or if they are small. You can think about if they have a good reputation, which will probably help you to get opportunities after graduating. You could think about the specific opportunities that they have, okay? When you're a student, like maybe they have really good research opportunities. If you want that, that's good, okay? So when I say I practice counseling from the inside out, a lot of counseling is helping students to understand what do they want, okay? Because it is very possible to generally aspire to the most good universities, but to not really know about them and to not really know what you want. And that's not good. Don't do that, okay? So counseling from the inside out is something I take very seriously. Now, what I do is I practice profile building. Building the profile means doing great co-curricular activities. A program at Clever Ed, for instance, would be an example of an amazing co-curricular. If you can see the bottom of this slide, you could say that getting into the US is about having very nice school grades. That's the number one most important thing. And then having a nice SAT score. I'll tell you about that in a moment. And then having a really nice profile. And the profile refers to the extracurricular activities you do in high school. And that's it, okay? And what I focus on is on guiding my students and advising them and creating brilliant partnerships to be able to make sure they can do the right ones. So if you think about this in comparison, I would say that the UK admissions weightages are much more focused on school grades, and they don't even look at the SAT, and they take a small profile. It doesn't have that much weightage. And then if you think about traditional Indian admissions, I mean, it's only school grades. They don't look at SAT, and you don't need co-curriculars. So the US, compared to these, is much more holistic. It's much more spread out, okay? And so this is very good for us, okay? Because it means if we understand the requirements, then you don't just have to have one thing that's perfect, okay? It means that there's a bit more margin for creativity. Even if your school grades are not at the very highest level, if you have a fabulous profile, then it can sort of balance out just a bit, okay? So I want to tell you quickly about the SATs or ACTs, because the first component of getting into a good American uni is the school grades. Everyone knows that. The second component is the SATs or the ACTs, okay? These are admissions tests. They are kind of similar to the joint entrance in that they are used to evaluate people's readiness, but they're very different because you don't have to focus on them so much. Now, the SAT is one option, and it has two sections only, math and reading and writing, okay? It is got about 110 questions. It's out of 1,600 points total. And there's a section where you're not allowed to use your calculator, and it doesn't have an essay, okay? Now, the ACT is the other test. And the difference between SAT and ACT is like the difference between iPhone and Samsung, okay? They're very similar, they just have slightly different features. The ACT, for instance, has 4 sections, not 2 sections. And the sections are a separate English, and a separate reading, and a math, and a science. So if you take science in school, and if you enjoy science, it's maybe good, okay? It is nearly 3 hours long. It has 250 questions, way more than the SAT. And so you could say maybe it is a faster test, but which the questions are a little simpler. That's true. And you are allowed to use a calculator, okay? So again, you could say choosing between SAT and ACT is not about what's better, it's about what's better for you. This is another kind of inside-out counseling I practice, because some children will feel very comfortable on the SAT and will score nicely. Other children would feel more comfortable on the ACT. The tests have the exact same weightage, so it's simply about understanding how are you most comfortable. And so if you like to go fast and you take science, take the ACT, it'll be better. But if you're like a really nice reader and you prefer having a little more time to deal with tricky questions, take the SAT. Now, not every university even allows or requires SATs or ACTs anymore. I cannot emphasize this enough, that almost every university in the US previously required SAT, but now they don't require. Since 2020, many universities have elected to become test optional, meaning you are not required to submit your SAT score. You are not required to even take the SAT. If you take it, you can choose whether or not to submit your test scores. Now, if you choose to submit these scores, it will boost you up a bit, okay? Because a university that is test optional, that does not mean it is blind to the test. It will still look at the score usually. So if you have a great test score, that's wonderful. A very nice SAT score, like a 1500, you would submit that everywhere, to every uni on the top 30 list. If you have a good test score, well, you would submit it some places, okay? Maybe not to Harvard, but you could submit it to many other places. And if you have a test score that just isn't very representative of your abilities, then just don't submit it. It's easy, okay? Now, out of the 3 components of a US application, school grades, SAT, and profile, I think the profile is the most fun because you can be the most creative. But to build the correct profile, you have to understand what is a good profile for you, okay? Now this is where I come in, because the US requires a profile. Is it important? Yes, it's very important. The admissions landscape in the US just is more and more competitive. Like I said, in the top 10, there would be about 120 seats for students from India. Now, that means you have to have fabulous grades. Many people understand about having fabulous grades. It is not a secret about how to get good grades. You just have to work really hard. And then you have to have a very nice SAT score, okay? And again, that is not a secret. Many people understand about how to get a good SAT score. You just have to work hard. Now, having a very good profile, that is the difference maker, okay? And this is the thing that is a bit more complicated, but it's much more fun. So I want to explain you some attributes of what is a good profile so you can start to understand about what would be good to do, okay? Now, a profile is a list of activities that you've engaged in during high school. That is it, okay? In fact, I have included an image of the actual college application that you fill. And here's all it says. Reporting activities can help colleges better understand your life outside of the classroom. Examples might be arts or music, clubs, community engagement, family responsibilities, hobbies, sports, volunteering or work, okay? Or academic enrichment. That's what Clever Ed does. Now, do you have any activities you wish to report? And someone with a good profile says, yes, okay? Now, specifically, they don't just report one activity, they report 10, okay? 10 activities is the maximum that we are allowed to report on the Harvard application. I'm not exaggerating, 10, okay? So you know that today, that having a good profile means having 10 activities to send in. Now, you might ask, okay, well, what are the attributes of a good activity then? I'll tell you. For each activity on this form, you have to report in certain information. This is the information you have to report. The number of years you have participated, the timing of the participation, that's fine, the hours per week that you spend, and the weeks per year that you spend. Now, this is really important. The US application asks for all of this information about every single activity that we're going to report in, okay? We have the chance to put these activities in the application. We have the opportunity to fill 10 of them, if you can see my cursor. And then for every single one, we have to give in how long you have done it, and we have to give in how much you have done it, okay? And so if you have done an activity for 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, and you do it all year, and you do it 8 hours a week, and you do it 50 weeks out of the year, so almost every week, that would have enormously high weightage, enormously high weightage. And if you only have done something maybe in 9th, maybe during the school break, maybe just for one or 2 hours, just in 1 week, well, that would be the lowest possible activity you could submit. The lowest activity would be something you have done 1 hour on 1 day, 1 time, once out of all of high school. And the highest activity you could submit is something you've done every day for 2 hours a day, every week, every month, every year, for years and years, okay? If you add up all the hours, that really long activity would be about 3,000 hours. And the least possible activity would be 1 hour. So 3,000 hours versus 1 hour. The activity that is 3,000 hours is much, much better, okay? Now, you cannot have all of these activities be 3,000 hours. That is not possible. There's not enough time, okay? So that is why it is possible to make some conclusions about what is a nice mix of activities. So you could say the first simple conclusion is that we want to show 10 activities. The common application, which is how you will submit your applications, it provides 10 spaces to list. That is not an accident. The US likes that. So you can say, as an interpretation, that the US likes it when people are busy, when students are occupied, when they are using their free time productively. And then you could say that we want long activities, okay? Activities that we can accurately show as lasting multiple years. So that could mean doing a Clever Ed program in 9th and doing it again in 10th, but a different program, because then that takes up 2 years, not just 1 year, okay? And so you can say that in the US, there is an emphasis on activities that are continuous. That's true. And then also verifiable, because, well, we have to give a little proof. You can't just say you've done it. You have to actually do it. And if you've actually done it, there will be proof, like a great certificate from Clever Ed, okay? And by the way, note, you are not required to report your achievement. There is no space to report your achievement, okay? But you have to give in your engagement. That just means the duration of each activity and the intensity, how much you've done it, all right? Now, the US is totally unique in requiring students to give in the duration of activities. No other university system in the world asks for this information. Believe me, I know. The US is also totally unique in requiring students to report in 10 activities. No other system in the world even allows that. So you can say in US, the virtue, therefore, is clear, that you need to do stuff and you should do it for a long time. So if you're young, well, you have a bit of an advantage because the activities you do in 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th will have the highest possible weightage. That's amazing, okay? And of course, the question becomes, which stuff, okay? Now, when you think about having discussed the general US landscape and having discussed the general US requirements and having even discussed the specific profile attributes, now we discuss at the most specific level of them all, the specific attributes of a good activity, because that is what your rigorous and focused on a specific discipline. It's a very specific terminology called a credit-bearing program, okay? And I'm using specific terminologies so that you guys can check this if you want to. And obviously, you want your summer school to be linked up with the subject that you will tell on your application. And so examples of good summer schools, they're not too long, they're not too short, okay? They should be selective, graded, or credit-bearing. And you could say that here are 5 very nice examples of summer programs which can help showcase your subject interest and show that they're quite tough, they're at the right level. Now, then there's research projects. That's really important. This is sort of where Clever Ed fits in, because a research project shows focused research experience in a chosen subject area and in a specific topic within that. So when you do a research project, it's not just for economics, it's for development economics. That's a type of economics. It's not just psychology, but it could be socio-behavioral psychology. That's a type of psychology, okay? And so what Clever Ed does, which I think is so cool, is that it offers this computer science enrichment, but it offers a specific focus within that, AI, okay? That is another example of inside-out counseling. Now, I only have a few more slides. The best research project is a mentored research project. A mentor is a senior lecturer, research scientist, or professor, and they guide the students' research and verify that it is relevant. So they can make it so they give you great advice and you can make a really top project. And these are very, very helpful. So when you're thinking about finding a great mentor, and I can help with that, you think about how long will it take? You think about, is there a deliverable? And you think about, will the mentor give an LOR? That means a letter of recommendation. That's very important. Now, and then once you've done a research project, well, then you can enter it into a top competition, okay? And so this is an example of the most famous science competition in India. And if you win this, you will go to a top 10 ranked US university. There's no doubt, okay? Now, the final piece I'm going to tell you is about the social project, because a lot of people think that getting into a top uni is all about a social project. And I believe that social projects are very important. I think they're number 3. I think this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3. It's actually not really in any order, but this is quite complicated to arrange, the social service. Now, a social project, when executed well, addresses a pressing social issue while showcasing your leadership, creativity, and resourcefulness. That just means your problem-solving abilities and your commitment. And so the way that a research project gives you an important chance to show specialization, a social project also gives you this chance, because it can help you show that you had done that you have a sophisticated understanding of the impact of social problems on specific groups, okay? So what makes a good social project is relevance to these important issues in India, engagement, how you have engaged, okay? Have you done the hard work? And creativity. Maybe it's like has a fun name or something, okay? So you could say that the US practices this holistic admissions and it gives this very high weightage to the profile. That's what I help with. And what I've just shown you are very detailed suggestions about how to think about your own profile. But what I want you to remember, and what will make you a good candidate, no matter what, is that you need to have 10 activities, okay? And we want to have 4 or 5 of them link up with one specific subject. Now that is how you get into a US university, okay? And that concludes my presentation.